Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. As you can see, we're in a different place. We are not in the cool studio. We're in a lame dorm. Not the cool studio, but hey, that's just what happens, man. We're back. Finally, after a couple month hiatus, we're back to getting UFC fighters in the podcast. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by the TikTok legend himself, Billy Quarantillo. Billy Quarantillo is in the UFC Featherweight division, and he's the first person who I've ever gotten to come on my podcast using TikTok. He follows me on TikTok for some reason. I'm not complaining. I feel honored, actually. He's trying to start up his TikTok account and blow up his following a little bit more. Trying to become next Conor McGregor, make that money. I'm super much looking forward to this. He just got back from UFC Fight Island. He was in the corner of Matt, the steamroller Favola, former guest of the show. I'm just getting everybody from Gracie, Tampa to hop on the show, I guess, I just got a good reputation out there. I'm just kidding. We're rocking the B-Shop, a Thick Boy White Club merch. Doesn't get much better than that. Does not get much better than that. We're dripping today. Get the bandana going. I absolutely feel like a dog. We're back on campus. First day of baseball season is upon us. Practice tonight. Roll Comets. I'm looking forward to getting Billy on the show. He should be joining in just a couple minutes, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
You can't see me though?
No. Oh, there you go. Okay. Billy Quarantillo, what's going on, my man? I'm liking the setup in the back.
What's up, brother? Thank you, man. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm up at school. I'm up at school. I play college baseball, so I'm up in my dorm studio.
And nice. Hell yeah, man. Where do you play at?
Excuse me. It's a small school up by it's a small school. It's up by Michigan State. It's called excuse me. It's called Olivet College. I play baseball up here. It's a good time. It's actually where Justin James wrestled, if you know Justin James.
Cool. Oh, yeah. I've seen him. Awesome, yeah. Man. That's what's up, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you got called in yesterday. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come on the show. I know it's a small show, but I mean, hey, you gotta start somewhere,
Yeah, absolutely, man. You got to start somewhere, and I think I like the way you you reached out to me on TikTok. I'm usually always on Instagram, and a lot of people hit me up to come on their shows. But since I really don't use TikTok as much, your message came right out, and the way everyone just tagged me, and I thought it was cool. Everyone was like, okay, like go check out this, and I saw it. I'm like, hell yeah, man, let's do it.
yeah. I actually wasn't expecting. Because all those people who commented are like my friends, and I just tweeted it because I was bored. Or excuse me, I just made a TikTok video out of it because I was bored, and I haven't had anybody on the show lately because I've been having some not success messaging people. So I was like, yeah, he follows me on TikTok. I guess I'll make this as a joke. And
yeah, you gotta shoot your shot, man. I do that all the time in business and in finance. It's what you got to do, man. So I think you did the right thing, and here we are rocking it.
I appreciate it. Are all those posters excuse me, all those posters in the back of all the cards you've competed on?
Yes, yeah. So I actually just did. There's my little office in here, and don't mind the glasses. I actually have to get LASIK eye surgery next week. So I have to go a week without wearing contacts. So my eyesight is terrible. So I got to rock my glasses. But yeah, this is my background. So this was my UFC debut right here. I won by submission, and this is my next. I don't have the Spike Carlisle fight because. It was during the pandemic, and they didn't do posters for it.
Oh, really?
So I'm gonna have to get something for that eventually. So my debut. Then I don't have the Spike one, and then this is where I knocked out Kyle Nelson. It was Michelle Watterson and Angela Hill, and then over here, I gotta move my computer. This was the fight I just fought on. It's a good reminder. It's the fight I lost to Gavin, and but it was just such a stat card. Tony Ferguson fought Charles Oliveira and Figueroa. Versus Moreno. They fought to that, fight of the year.
It was phenomenal. That was my fight of the year. What was your fight of the year?
Yeah, that one was up there. I liked what other one? I liked the Joanna versus Wei Li. I liked that was a great fight. I also liked there were some good ones. What else was there? Gagey and Ferguson was a great fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some. Those were probably my top ones that really stuck out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My personal favorite fight of the year was Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. I'm a big Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, that was a great fight. Great fight.
Phenomenal fight. Yeah, I'm a big Dustin Poirier fan, but at the same time, I'm a diehard Conor McGregor fan. I'm a UFC.
Oh
fan.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm a UFC fan because of Conor McGregor. I've got like 4 Conor McGregor shirts. I've got 3 Irish flags. So like it hurt me over the past week, but like
Yeah.
if there's one person to do it, I'm glad it was Dustin Poirier.
Yeah. You can't. It's like you can't really root against Dustin Poirier,
Exactly.
and it's interesting to see, because I've been in the game. I've been training since 2009, 2010. So to see so many people now that have said they're like Connor got me into the sport, it's really cool to see, and he's been such an influence on. He's grown the sport. He might have doubled the sport in popularity.
Exactly.
How many people started watching because of him, and he came to such a huge figure. But it's cool because obviously now you reached out to me, you've reached out to other UFC fighters. You're obviously a fan of the whole sport now because of Connor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because back when he fought Jose Aldo back in 2015, I had I mean, I know what the UFC was. My stepdad watched it when it was on or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But like at the same time, I was always like, yeah, there's just people fighting, like it's whatever. But then as soon as I saw all Connor's press conference antics, I saw him I saw him run up to Aldo and steal a belt off his desk. I was like, all right, this fight's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
right.
right.
I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. I decided to buy the fight. As soon as he knocked that Aldo out, I was like, okay, yep.
Yeah, this is what I'm doing now.
It's my life. Yeah. Yeah. So how'd you get into the sport, initially?
Yeah, so I was basically, I never really played. I played sports in high school, but I didn't really do martial arts. I used to watch boxing. When I was growing up, it was like, early Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, Fernando Vargas, Felix Trinidad. I used to love watching. We used to have big fight nights where we would all watch them.
Mm-hmm.
We would have like my friends over and we would box in my basement. Like I remember clearly like days where like people would just beat the shit out of each other. Those are like our parties when we were kids.
Yeah.
And then but I didn't really get into it until I watched The Ultimate Fighter. I was 16 when the first Ultimate Fighter came out, with like Forrest Griffin and Diego Sanchez and Lieben and all them. And then I basically it became like something I would watch on the side. And then it just became like so big and popular. And when I started training, I was 19 years old. That's when I really got like obsessed with it. I started learning a little bit of jiu-jitsu. Then I started like learning the history of it. I started fighting. I started fighting, a few months after I started training.
Oh,
so
really?
right around then, 2009, 2010 is when I basically fell in love with it. And then ever since then, I was in Buffalo, New York. I grew up in Buffalo. Right in 2010, I moved to Tampa, Florida, basically to pursue a goal to become a world champion, to get to the UFC, become a world champion. Mm-hmm. And so for the last 10 years, I've just been on like a vision quest, getting closer and closer and closer to that goal. And, especially these last 2 years, I've really blown up and it's become like financially worth it. It's finally, I could like look at people and they know I'm not like a fuck up, because I'm finally getting to that point where, just for years and years and years, I was trying to get here. So that's kind of how I got here.
All right. Yeah. And so, excuse me, when you started your career, did you like ever think, you obviously thought like, all right, if I work hard enough, I can eventually get to the top. But at the same time, did you ever like see the success that you're having right now, like being able to travel, like from Tampa, Florida, all the way down to a fight island? Did you ever see yourself getting that big, or was it kind of just happen one day?
Yeah, you know what the interesting thing was? When I first started training, you're obviously a little bit newer to the sport if McGregor brought you in. When I first started training in like 2009, 2010, there really wasn't any big like stars, like big celebrities, but I just loved it. I was like, oh my God, I love what, Dana White's doing. I love what the Fertittas are doing. They're putting it on, it was on Spike TV for the first time. And I had a feeling it was going to I had a feeling it was going to blow up. You know what I mean? So when I first started training, I remember talking to guys, like the best guys in the sport, and they would tell me, they're like, obviously we want you to get really good, but have a backup plan, have something you want to do on the side. And I kind of put all my eggs in one basket, and I was like, listen, I think, I'm just going to become the best fighter I could be. I didn't mind being broke for, 7 years in a row, where I'd basically be working like as a server at a restaurant, or I would work at like I worked at like a law office, like as like a secretary. I didn't mind being broke all those years because I did have a belief in myself that I was going to become, I was going to get to the UFC and I was going to be, fighting for a world championship and making enough money. So it actually worked out. Like as I fell more in love with the sport and got better at it, the sport basically got progressively, more financially better.
Yeah.
People are actually making a living off it now. There's, some of the highest paid guys like McGregor, John Jones, they're up there with, NFL players and stuff like that. So I think it's only going to get bigger from there. And that belief of knowing that I could make it basically helped me get to that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you said that there's there's obviously the thing in the back of your mind, all right, I'm kind of putting all my eggs in this one basket. Or is there people was there people around you who like kind of told you like, all right, yeah, it's cool and all, but maybe you should like kind of try and like make sure you're putting a little bit of focus on something else.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're always just
and
haters.
yeah, no, and it's funny, like that word like drown out the haters. I didn't drown them out. I used them to like motivate me. You know what I mean? There were so many people. Cause I grew up in a small town. It's called Lewiston, New York, and it's one of the dopest like little towns. Really, really small town. And some of the people, like when I was like, oh yeah, like I remember working at my day job, and I remember telling people, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna move to Tampa, and I'm gonna basically just gonna keep training, and I'm gonna keep training until I get in the UFC. And oh my God, the people that made fun of me. I still remember like one guy who was like a bum. You know what I mean? Like this one of our bum guys that I worked with. He was like, oh yeah, what are you gonna be, the next Chuck Liddell? And he would say this, and like people that like discouraged me, like that kind of motivated me. Like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to be in the UFC, but if I train my ass off, if I listen to the right coaches, if I keep learning, if I put the work in every single day, I know I could get to that point. And I still, to this day, I remember like the fights that I've lost and the people that have told me I wasn't going to make it. They motivated me probably even more than the positive people, even though I appreciate the positive people a lot more.
Yeah, so I mean, like me personally, if that was me and I was in your boat, I would just I would pay pay-per-view money just to see those people's face when just because of your true heart and grit and your determination.
Yeah.
You're going down a UFC fight out and being in the corner for Matt Frivola. Did you ever think like that your career and being in the UFC or just training for fights, just training for fights just because you like it, would eventually get you down to like the most prestigious island in the world?
Yeah, no, not, never even. It's kind of funny to look back on, because I grew up, playing the video games like Mortal Kombat and like, watching those movies that, like they go out and like, they go to like an island and like the best fighters in the world are fighting like to the death. And I was always intrigued by that, like that kind of like war fighting mentality. And honestly, I never knew, like, obviously no one really knew Fight Island was going to exist.
Yeah.
But I knew that I had so much passion for competing and fighting. And, I love doing jiu-jitsu. I love doing Muay Thai. I love wrestling, that I knew if I put all my effort into it, that it was going to lead to big things and allow me to do other stuff with my career. And I don't even think it's the end of it. I'm 3-1 in the UFC. I think I had a lot of hype going into this last fight. Obviously, it cooled down a little bit, but I think that's just because people don't know what I'm capable of, because I'm 3-1 now. There was a lot of things I could have done differently for this last fight, but let's say I win my next fight, my next two fights. Next thing you know, I'm 5-1, 6-1 in the UFC, and I'm going to put myself right back in that top 15, that title contention, in the near future.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. I remember on the card with Davison and Brandon, I was like, excuse me. Yeah. Oh yeah, excuse me. After that card, I was talking to my stepdad. I was telling him about like all the cool fights that I know. I was like, yeah. Gavin Tucker's a beast, and Billy Q's a beast. Watch out for this fight. It's gonna be a banger. And I mean,
yeah,
it's a good fight. It didn't go your way, but I mean, hey, things happen. You live and you learn, right?
Absolutely. And that was kind of, going into that fight, I was actually on a 9-fight winning streak. I won 8 fights in a row in MMA, and I won a pro boxing match in there that I took off an ACL surgery. So for me, like when I got in the UFC, like I won a fight and they're like, all right, let me know when you can fight again. And I was like, right away, I'm like, let's do it. Then quarantine happened. Then they got me a fight. I won that. I beat Spike. And then I fought again. I knocked out Kyle Nelson. So for me, like, it was just win after win after win. And I was doing all the same stuff in the training camp that I thought would have gotten me to the next one. So I basically, took another fight. Then I fight Gavin, and Gavin's the type of guy that he's good enough where you got to focus a whole training camp on. Like, that should have been like a 3-month training camp where I'm getting better. I'm focusing more on my wrestling exchanges. He does a good job mixing and striking and wrestling, but instead I basically, since I just kept winning, like it was win, 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 I just thought I could keep doing the same thing. So now coming off of this loss, it's actually going to be a really good thing. And I can go back to the drawing board. I can look at everything that I could have done better going into that fight. And now I can have a full training camp for my next opponent. And I just can't wait to show everyone what I'm going to be working on in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you have like a timetable of when you're ready to return? Are you like thinking like mid-year, May, June?
Yeah. So this is actually, the last 3 fights I had were all from July to December. They were the 3 fights in 6 months. So I basically decided that I need to finally get my eyes fixed. I should have gotten my eyes fixed, 5 years ago, but I always either fight with my contacts or fight with no contacts.
Oh, really?
So they're either going to get, one's going to get knocked out, or I'm fighting with no contacts where I don't have the best vision. So a week from yesterday, this next Thursday, I'm getting my PRK surgery. So getting my eyes fixed. Then for the next like 2.5, 3 weeks after that, I'm only going to be able to like lift weights and do like bag work. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I'll be able to spar again. I'm also getting married March 27th. Oh, really? So congrats. Yeah, it's going to be, thank you. So this was like a good time to get my eyes fixed, to, make sure the wedding goes, according to plan. It's a lot more planning than I thought. Make sure that happens. Make sure that gets done with on March 27th. I'm super excited about that, obviously. And then right after that, I'm going to book my fight. So I'm thinking most likely May. It could even be the end of April, because I'm basically going to, obviously I'm going to have some drinks at my wedding and have some fun. But in the meantime, I'm basically taking this time as like a training camp and a time to get better. Because, I'm 32 years old. I want to take at least 2 fights this year. So, Billy Q 2.0, after with brand new eyes, no contacts that can get knocked out. It's going to be a game changer. My wrestling is going to be on point. And so I'm looking probably May, and then we'll kind of play it by ear after that fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any opponents in mind? Or excuse me. Do you watch fights and you kind of like see like, all right, like that guy's high up, that'd be an interesting fight. I'd like to see that. Are there any people in mind who you kind of want to fight next?
Not really. I don't really like to like this far out, especially. I don't really like to think of a specific person, because especially with losing my last fight, I feel like there's so many things I can take away from like how I did, like things I can work on from my last fight right now. So right now, I'm not even thinking of a specific person, but I am seeing, a lot of the 45ers that are fighting like around, in the next few weeks, or that they just fought. Those are probably going to be the guys that are going to be a timetable for me to fight in May. So I'm watching a lot of the 45er fights now and seeing, and of course, anyone in the top 15, unless we're friends. Like I'm friends with a few of the guys, like Ryan Hall. I'm never going to fight Ryan Hall. I'm friends with him. I don't want that smoke, man. He's got some magic tricks.
Oh, it's insane.
But and again, he wouldn't even want to fight me anyway, because his goal is to be a world champion. My goal is to be, get to that point. So unless we're 1 and 2, but there's a lot of other guys that I see myself matching up with, and my goal is obviously from day one is to be a world champion. So I'm just gonna keep climbing the rankings till I get to that point.
Exactly. And then, excuse me, speaking of awesome fights at 145, what did you think about Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar? What was your thoughts watching that fight?
Dude, so you know what? I love both guys, and I actually saw we saw Max in passing at the hotel. We just said hi to him and like, said what's up for a minute. And then I actually saw Calvin Kattar right after, and he was looking fine. I saw him and Rob Font, the New England Cartel boys.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I actually haven't even seen the fight yet, because we were flying over to Abu Dhabi when the fight happened.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't show it. So we get to Fight Island, and next thing you know, I was basically, helping with Frivola the whole time, and we just didn't pull it up because we already knew what happened. And I watched all the highlights though, and man, Max Holloway just looked incredible.
Oh, he looked insane.
And Calvin Cater's a stud too. So I'm a big fan of both guys. And and Max Holloway, man, I think he's the best 45er that we've ever seen. Yeah. Aldo had his time, but what Holloway has done in the UFC, because Aldo had a great career even before the UFC and the WEC, but I think what Holloway has done in the UFC just tops off what Aldo did.
Yeah. I actually saw excuse me, because I'm from Detroit, and back at UFC 218, I went because it was like the first time in like my lifetime that I was able to go to a card. So it was in Detroit, and headlined by Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo too. And
nice.
Yeah. So what you call it? I get to see that fight, and Max Holloway's just insane. I've always been a big Max Holloway fan. I've always been a big Calvin Cater fan. And
two
of the best 140. I think those are two of the best, if not the best, like purebred boxers in the world, especially in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a great fight to go to as your first fight because, I know like he was going into it. He's like, it is what it is. We're going to fight again. But I definitely remember the first fight, Aldo tagged him up right in the first round and he came back and beat him. And then the second fight, it was a good fight until, Max was just too much for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you mentioned, Matt Frivola. I actually think that it's funny because it's just something with Tampa Bay fighters. I just have people on the show. You're actually the second guest from Tampa, Gracie South to come on the podcast.
Oh yeah, you had Frivola on here.
Yeah. I had him on. That was probably around December. It was somewhere around December.
Nice, yeah. Nice. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I'm glad he helped you. I'm glad he did it too. That's what's up.
Yeah, it was real nice. And we had a good talk about his upcoming fight that was supposed to happen. But then, and what you call it, and then especially you, because you were right there in the middle of things. What the heck happened? Like what was in his bag?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, for those who don't know what you're referring to, that hit. So Frivola's original opponent, Atman Azir or whatever, and it turns out after this whole thing happens of him, cutting off his wristband, giving it to someone outside of the bubble, they sneak in and then they shimmy across a hotel, goes into one room, shimmies across the hotel, goes into his room. It definitely had to be, and obviously his fight got canceled. Frivola ended up getting a way tougher fight, in my opinion. There's a lot of speculation. A lot of people online mentioned that he was known for like either like selling coke or like getting in like assault charges and like just being like criminal scumbags. But we don't know what's in the bag. I think it was some sort of like EPO or like IV bag or something for the weight cut. But man, definitely something didn't smell right. We actually met someone at the pool that saw the whole thing. They said they saw this guy shimmy across their balcony. So, and they were really curious what happened, but I guess the hotel's seen the whole thing.
Yeah.
So just definitely the craziest story I've been a part of. That I was right in the hotel the whole time.
Yeah.
I was there when they told Matt that the fight was off. They wouldn't tell us why at first, and just a wild situation. And it had to be. Someone was like, "Oh yeah, it was like a PlayStation." It had to be something sketchy because they would have let someone in with a PlayStation, but to sneak someone in after we've already quarantined for like 4 days, it's just a wild thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the mood like? You said that the UFC came up and told Matt that his fight was canceled. What's like the mood and what's being said in the hotel room when you travel? Like it's 15 hours all the way to Fight Island. And you spend all this time on a fight camp, and then the day of the weigh-ins, like when it's about to be official, it just gets canceled. Like, what are you guys talking about? Said, are you guys like mad, angry, upset? Like, what's the mood?
Yeah, non-selfishly, I wasn't even thinking about, what that meant for me, like being, not even being able to corner, because I was just thinking about how shitty it was for Frivola. Last year, he had basically three training camps canceled. And you know, the one right before that, he broke his foot. So the one before that, he broke his foot fight week that got canceled. The fight before that, we flew out there and I tested positive for COVID the week of the fight. So those were his last 2 canceled fights. And then for this one, basically they told Matt that Ottman was out and he had like 2 pounds to go. So he already cut weight. He already did everything he had to do. It was definitely like it was almost like sad for me to like think, I'm like, man, he just did all this work and now he's not gonna be able to fighting for a while. But then there's also the part where they're like, you know, basically keep making weight because you're going to be a replacement 155er now. So I still basically thought we had work to do. So like there's still work to do. And we just kept saying, you know, maybe one of these top 4 guys drop out. maybe Arman needs an opponent. You know, maybe he ends up fighting, you know, Dan Hooker, Michael Chandler, or Poirier or something like that. You know, you never know. So we finished the weight, and then he was thinking, he's like, yeah, worst case scenario, I end up fighting Arman, because that was just like obviously the total opposite style matchup that we got ready for.
Yeah.
And sure enough, man, the universe was testing him in some way, because that was the worst case scenario that we already we like joked about. And sure enough, it ended up, he basically had the choice of basically just taking his money and going home with his win bonus and his fight purse, or fighting Arman but not getting any extra money. And so for him to fight Arman with already getting his win money just shows you like the type of person he is and the type of fighter he is, because there's a lot of people that would have just taken that money and went home.
Well, me personally, since I had Matt on my show and I had the pleasure of talking to him, I somehow feel like, a deep connection right there. So like,
yeah, of course.
And so I was like, all right. And then as soon as he got canceled, I was like, well, that sucks. And then, and then as soon as I heard like all about the bag and running across the balcony, I'm like, what is happening? And then as soon as a second fight gets announced with Arman, I look at the odds and like I saw it was like minus 500 plus 700. I was like, that's a lot tougher fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was like, geez, that's gotta suck.
Yeah. And it really does suck, man. And it was the worst position to be in, because, let's say if Arman and his opponent got matched up still, he basically could have just taken that money, went back, not had any fights, still on a 2-fight winning, basically a 3-fight, he won his last 2 and then had a draw. So he's basically on a 3-fight winning streak, of not losing. And to be put in that position where it's like, the casual fan would look at that and be like, oh, why won't Matt fight this guy? Like, they're the same weight class. And just knowing that, because we both obviously understand that. And either way, he has to cut weight again for another fight. So we know whether he fought or not, we knew he wasn't going to fight again until April or May, either way. So he basically just got put in the worst position possible, and he made the most of it. He fought him. He fought his ass off. He didn't get finished. With those odds being what they were, they basically thought he was going to get slaughtered. And to put up that kind of fight on 1-day notice, just shows what a badass he is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess they're teaching some good stuff at Tampa South.
Yeah. We get it in there, and I've helped him get to this point. I've shaped him the right way.
Well, Billy, that's about all I got for you. I can't thank you enough for doing this, especially for me to go on TikTok and get this. I never would have thought that would happen, but
yeah, it worked out.
I'm a big fan of you. I'm a big fan of your fights. I'm looking forward to seeing you fight again. Hopefully in May, you said. Once again, I couldn't thank you enough for doing this. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem, man. Thanks for having me, brother. Have a good rest of your day and have a good weekend.
I appreciate it, Billy. Thank you.
All right, later, brother.
Later.